Yes.
Very good. We'll get started real quick. We only have the consent agenda that needs a vote. We now have a quorum. So let's start this meeting at 6:06. September 17th.
Did you record?
Yeah, I'm recording. September 17th, 2025, regular city council meeting. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, roll call wise, we have Rich Olson, Duke Wells, Ed McGuire in person. We have Chris Clemens online, so we have a quorum. Item 4 is consideration of the agenda. Do we have anything that needs to be changed, removed, or revised? Anyone have any concerns? Seeing none, any motion to approve the agenda?
Motion approved.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Item 5 is consideration of the consent agenda. It's items 5A through D. The meeting minutes from August 20th, regular city council meeting. Excuse me, the bills from the session, that's August 1st to August 31st, the receipts of that same session, August 1st to August 31st, and our profit and loss statement by classification, August 1st to August 31st. Does anyone have any questions or comments on the consent agenda backup material? Chris, did you have any comments or questions?
No comments or questions. Thanks.
Okay, you?
No.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's unanimous. All right, Chris, if you have a meeting to join, you can log off. The rest of this is discussion. There's no action required, so we can have a discussion. We will not take any action without a quorum, but if you need to leave, I understand. Item 6A. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna apologize, but yeah, I'm gonna drop. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Item 6, codification update, or 6A, sorry.
Yes. We have all of our code has been codified
All right.
as of 2025. So we have new books, new binder here, and it's also online. Chris put the link online.
Oh, very
So
good.
everything is online.
Outstanding news. Thank you.
We had some updates and changes that were going to be made to the construction code, right?
Yeah, they'll be ongoing, but this was a big catch-up because it hadn't been all put together for like
99. It
Yeah.
was 99.
26 years.
Wow.
Right? Isn't it
Yeah, it was a
long?
big collection.
99 or
So-
95.
Yeah.
We'll have to do it again after we go through some of the changes and updates and stuff.
Yeah.
But we can do that on a yearly basis and
Yeah,
it won't cost us
ongoing,
nearly as
not
much.
so expensive or
Yeah.
time consuming, yeah.
Roger, thank
And
you.
it has everything up until the last month. So because August 15th is when that was the last time I could send anything to them. So as of August 15th, this was updated.
All right, thank you. Okay, item 6B, the ongoing question of a date for a city council picture of all of us together in our shirts.
I think we're good. Let's take a picture here. We're ready.
We're representing the
Yeah.
council.
Right.
We were gonna try for the chili cook-off and meet and greet October 4th, but we have somebody out of town. So I think all of the council and the mayor will be there, but one of them will be missing. They're already out of town, so. So we won't do the photo that day, because that would have been nice, like standing in front of the lake or something, but, anyway, we'll figure it out. We've got a number of conflicts in the next couple of meetings too, and then the holidays, so, we were actually all here last year, around Christmas time, so anyway, we'll figure out one of the days. We'll keep trying.
Well, I was the city hall was gonna try and do like a holiday get together.
Right.
So maybe we
Have a
can,
potluck.
yeah,
Okay.
so maybe we can try it that date.
All right. All right.
In past history, those were our most attended affairs, was the Christmas
Yeah.
potluck that we did. There was a lot of people at that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
What we did.
we need to get back to that.
Yeah, I have one in the works for this year, so.
All right, 6C, Larry specifically had a question about the tree trimming, and we had met with the power company and talked, and they said they do employ a arborist, right, certified arborist. And so he was on vacation when we met, and he said he's working on the standard. So the standard, the print is in here, the final draft. And they said the final will have a little graphic and it'll be on their webpage and whatever, but these are the words, because the question was, you know, do they expect the trees they top to survive and that sort of thing? And he said, we do. And if something's dead and it's, part of the question is, where is it? Because some of these are on private property in a power line easement, and they're obligated to trim to get them back from the power line. So it's the homeowner's tree. If they don't like the way it looks, frankly, they can trim it before they get there. If they don't, then the power company does. Some of them are in the right of way. So if they trim it and it dies or whatever, you know, they said, hey, if you think we've caused a problem, let us know. I mean, they're pretty good to deal with, but yes, sometimes they're ugly because some areas have been ignored. He admitted that. They said there's been a lot of stuff we didn't touch for many years, so it's pretty drastic when we come through because the trees have grown up around the power lines. But there's also kind of been some changing law around this with fires caused by power lines. So the power companies in general have gotten much more aggressive about if they can't trim, then they're gonna shut the power off every time the wind blows, preemptively. And that's happened in California, that's happened in Oregon. And so they, our PUD has not sustained any huge losses, but he said some of the others have. And so, you know, it's a hot topic all over the West, and, you know, anywhere there's trees and wind and dry, we get pretty good at the dry part, so anyway. But there's the standards, just for discussion. You know, it's just, we're working on it, it's a handout, you know, if anybody has questions, they're happy to help. 6D, exciting news. So the audit from the year ago is done, and then we hired a guy to do alternative methods. The other way you can do this under the law is review your policies and procedures and your methods, and instead of doing a full audit for smaller communities, if you're under $1 million annual budget, well, there's a bunch of rules. It's $500,000 or one time $1 million. Anyway, we have to do something. We're right at $475,000 annual budget, but the alternative methods is already done. So the year that just ended a month ago, we're already good. It's been submitted to the state. There's a letter on here that he's reviewed all the procedures. And so basically, we'll get interviewed next year. Instead of doing a full audit, they'll say, do you still follow your procedures? You have a purchasing policy, you know, you have state law, and as long as we all nod our heads, yes, we did that, and we didn't have any unusual circumstances, it'll go much faster and it costs much less money, right? We went from a
45, well, it was actually, all in all, it was 42,000.
$42,000 audit, 10% of our annual budget to a $13,000. And if our procedures are solid, in theory, it will get cheaper because they won't redo procedures every year. They'll just do the follow-up review. So, yeah, that was a big win. It is. It's, I don't know if I told you, I went to the Lane Council of Government Executive Board meeting and their budget presentation and their annual audit last month. And after the meeting, I said, how much you pay for an audit? And they said, we were really disappointed with the auditor. They have an $83 million budget. This is a pretty big operation. They run all the buses and all the Meals on Wheels and senior meals and, you know, all that for all Lane County. And they said, well, 83 million this year, and we spent 45 grand. And I feel like I got cheated. I said, we spent 42. And she was like, what? What? Are you kidding me? That's highway robbery. And I said, we got one bid. We got one firm willing to do it. We're stuck.
I think it's wrong that the state puts us at that high a standard in this little small of a community.
Tough.
They make us spend that kind of.
There's a 3-page list of small towns that haven't done it. Because we did the research, like what happens if we don't do it? It's like, it turns out there's a whole lot of company on that list. Reedsport just made the paper. They haven't finished an audit for 5 years, but they've been working on it. Their auditor took 3 years to do the 2021 audit. So they couldn't do the next year because they wanted to look backwards to make sure it carried forward. Yeah, they got themselves in a pickle, and they didn't really do anything wrong. It's a terrible spot.
More expense.
It is. So anyway, Reedsport's catching up, and we just passed them. So this is exciting news. And then item E, chili cook-off and meet and greet is October 4, correct, at Darling's?
Yes.
What time does that start?
So the competitors arrive there and setup is at 11.
Okay.
Their sample tasting on Locals Choice starts at 3. So I didn't know if we wanted possibly to be there, and that was what I was gonna ask. Do we wanna be there like 2:30 to 5:15? Because 5:15 is when the winners will be announced.
Okay.
And my plan was to set up a table. I've already confirmed that that is okay. And then we have some, I call it swag. We've got some shirts that were still from the marathon and some other things that I thought we can do. And then I have these handy dandy little name tags. So whoever's a Dune City resident, I thought we could put their name on the tag. And then when you folks would see them out there in the crowd, then you would know that they're a Dune City resident and be able
And
to
you
talk to
got
them.
name tags too.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I got your name badges as well, so you'll have your own little name on too.
permanent, not safe.
Yes, yeah, not the sticky kind, yes.
And we have,
Let's see, chili cook-off, drinking beer, I'm not sure you're gonna want me in a day.
and wear your blue shirt, be proud.
Okay.
Don't make the paper.
You've been warned.
Okay. And we have 1 from our budget committee and 2 from the council that will be chili judges.
Judges, yeah.
Awesome. So, not in their council duties, so I think you are allowed to bribe them if you're, no, I'm kidding. No, I know you're supposed to. It's, for those participating, but, yeah, that would be fun.
So do you wanna do
Go around
2:30
each
to 5:15, or did you wanna be there earlier? That was up to you, I
I
don't
think
know.
anywhere there in the middle hours, other than the judges will, I'm sure they'll have a time slot when they expect them to be there and judge, so.
Right,
And then all the rest of us, as long as we overlap, so we'll get the word out to the rest of the council. All right, and then mayor's report. So at last week's Iusla School Board meeting, Lily Clemens was sworn in as our intern, and our councilman's daughter is now the student representative for the Iusla School District. So that was pretty exciting. And she still works for us part-time right now. The school started, so she's been a really helpful
2 days a month.
intern. The Central Coast of Oregon Board of Realtors invited me to speak at their meeting October 30th, so it'll just be an update on, Dune City happenings. And I had one other item. The League of Cities was looking for a volunteer for executive board member, but it ended at 5 p.m. today. They sent a thing like a day ago and said, hey, we still got an opening. And then I got to one today. Ends at 5 o'clock. I'm like, well, it's too late to talk about it at city council meeting, but anyway, I think all the meetings are online. I have no idea what it entails. Anyway, hopefully, if they don't fill it, we'll probably hear from them. I'll send out an email. Just if you guys are interested, I'll forward it to you. So, but they want somebody that's current, council person, planning commissioner, or something like that wants to participate. So that's all I have. We have a permit report in your packet, I think at the back, and a code enforcement report. And your code enforcement person is here if you have any questions. But I think having one has been very effective, because I think things have quieted down. I think the people that needed to talk to have been talked to generally, and
It really amazes me that we've had so many problems with short-term rentals, and now all of a sudden we don't have any problems. Good job.
I want to say that I've asked him to add something to this for next month, and that's just, when he's out there, he's always finding contractors and people that need business licenses. So you'll notice on the permit report that she says that she has 19 Dune City business licenses. I mean, a lot of that has to do with.
They're coming in though to get the license.
right, right, okay.
So I'll have that on his report. He's going to put that on his report next year or next month, so you'll be able to see that. So.
All right, very good.
Very good.
These aren't really public comment items, but does anybody have a comment on any of that?
Well, I do have one comment.
Okay,
And unfortunately, I was not able to bring, I thought I brought it with me, but I didn't. But I did read the audit report. And I've had to deal with audits through the years, and I know you have council members that are not here now that are very interested in audits. From what I can see, the audit, because it was a smaller audit, they focused on, I think, 1 month. And what they saw in that 1 month is that there was more spent than there seemed to be employees. So how did that happen?
I'm not sure what you're referring to.
There's a comment about that, Liz, you know, how many employees do you have? Because it looks like you have 4 or 5, and with your 4 or 5, you have the month we selected, you have exceeded that, how much they're paid. So is that just a fluke, or just happened that one time, or?
Are you talking about the report that's in
The report they sent for the audit.
well, we got 2, because we just had one on the agenda the year before's audit, and then we have the alternative procedures in the letter saying you
I
meet.
read that, it's in the.
That's the one that's in the
Yeah,
current
it's in.
backup. Is that the one you're talking
Yes.
about? Okay, we just got that.
I'm not seeing that comment. Do you know what page that was on?
Unfortunately, I didn't bring it, but it's, what is it, like 8 pages or something?
It's 3.
I know here we go, in the letter it says, we calculated the amount of payroll expenditures for the reporting period compared to total operating costs to determine that it was greater than 20%. We obtained copies of payroll checks, direct deposit records for one haphazardly selected month during the reported period. And I think haphazard is the term they use, meaning they just select one
Yeah,
random.
exactly.
We compared names, current employees, documents received. We obtained a listing of employees and officials employed during the fiscal period. We were unable to obtain written proof of authorized salaries or pay rates to agree to the paid amounts, to the amounts authorized for 4 of the 5 employees. All individuals receiving pay have corresponding personnel file and were current employees or officers during the reporting period.
And what she's referring to there is she had asked me for some kind of proof of what the employees made. In their personnel files, there was nothing in there that showed what people were making. The only person, the one that they're referring to is mine because of my
Your
contract
contract.
that you wrote. Mhm.
Well,
Except,
that seems like that, especially if you're wanting to go with this shorter version, that's worth noting. They just happened to pick that, and that's what they saw.
No, they didn't just they happened to pick 1 month. They will always review payroll. The individual line items, cash balance, they'll always review these items. They'll always review payroll. We won't know which month they're gonna pick.
That's what I'm talking about,
Yeah,
yes.
so they just say, give me
It just happened
June
to
or-
pick this month, and in this month, that was the case.
Gotcha. And I think, like Lila said, the evidence was, we basically have a list that goes to the accountant that does the payroll. And I've seen the list, and I see every month, you know, here's how many hours each person worked, and this is the middle, I get CC'd on that. But yeah, if you look in their file, it has probably a range based on the job they're in, and it doesn't say what step they're at or whatever, so that's easily corrected. They also didn't think it didn't rise to the level of audit finding, as in this must be corrected because it's a huge issue. It was noted. So I think that's a fair question. I mean, we'll contact them and say, do you have an example of what that should look like? You know, so that we could put, like, with their annual review, we could state the range and the current salary. And
all of those are in there now.
they are now, right? Because they just got an increase. Because the previous year, there hadn't been an increase for the rest of the employees for like 5 years. So there was nothing documented other than they worked here. Now they've all had a cost of living increase. So I think next year they're going to say, oh, look, I have a record of last year. They were all adjusted. And each have a different rate. So anyway, fair question. I mean, any other? If not, we'll go to item 8A, FEMA implementation plan. So we talked about this at a meeting sometime back. They sent us the model ordinance that we should adopt by last year. That kind of died. They have revised their proposal a little bit, and there's a little flyer here. It should have been either in your packet or sitting at the desk. It's on top of the pile. Yeah, it's a little color flyer. So
Right, just this one.
they just published this like August 25th, or August 22nd. We have until October 6th to submit comments. It affects, if you have a little map, it affects everything in red, which is 90% of participating communities in Oregon that have flood insurance. And so they've linked the Environmental Species Act to the flood insurance rate program. Historically, those are two distinctly separate things. And so they've created this one-size-fits-all habitat loss, adverse impact plan that affects everybody. And so I went to the very first meeting they had for elected officials a week ago, Monday, I think, Monday morning. And they had one at 9 a.m. for elected officials, and then they had one for the public at 11. And there's a couple more of these coming up if you want to go. But it's a FEMA employee that kind of walks you through the program. They answer some of the questions, because I still have some questions they didn't answer, but I'm not in love with it, and I've gone through a whole bunch of it. It's 4 big volumes, the environmental impact statement, an implementation plan, and then some details like economic impacts and community data. So each of these, the executive summary is like 250 pages, and then they get longer from there. So I have some experience in this area, so I have some very specific comments, but I'll share that with the council. And I'll share it. You guys all have Word? You got Word on your computer, so you can edit this? Yeah. So you can change it any way you want and send it, you know, as yourself. We can also put some of this information on our website, because the public can comment as well. The public ultimately is the ones affected. It's anybody that really lives on the lakefront or the riverfront on the Siuslaw, or the Silcoos leaving town. The biggest impact to us is the riparian buffer becomes 170 feet. And I specifically asked them, how'd you come up with 170 feet? We've been using 50 feet for years, and we have houses that predate the 50 feet and predate FEMA. And so we've got structures, you know, that might be 30 feet. But they haven't touched anything, you know, since maybe the 40s or 50s or even 30s. So he said, good question. This is an interesting answer, because this is not exactly a problem where we are. This is about warm water and sunshine mostly, where people have removed all the vegetation and it's too hot for the fish. And that's not really our problem. But he said, that's the presumed max height of a mature tree in Oregon. And Oregon's a big place, so it varies a lot. But they said 170 feet tall could cast a 170-foot shadow. So we just decided 170 feet both sides, 170 feet out into the lake and 170 feet.
That's the most ridiculous thing I ever heard.
That's kind of what I said. I was like, that is how you came up with
Depends on where the
this.
sun is.
I said, I want to see the study. And he goes, well, it's just, they just went out and measured trees. And I'm like, well, you didn't measure them all. You picked a couple, because I don't think there's a 170-foot tree on the lakefront in all of Dune City. That is a really big tree. There's probably a lot of 90-footers, but I don't know if there's any 170-footers.
I cut a lot of trees.
And then he said, if you cut one, it's the whole, if you're in the riparian, it's over a certain size, it's 6-to-1 replacement. So if you cut one, you gotta plant 6. But I said, what do you gotta plant? They didn't answer the question. I think you can plant any size tree. You can plant a 99-cent sapling. So that part's really not that difficult.
What?
But they won't be mature for another 90 years. So it's kind of stupid. You should discourage the cutting of the trees, not just say you can put 6 crappy saplings. And he goes, we don't even care what kind of tree. You can cut a pine and plant 3 birch and 3 willows. I'm like, well, we don't have willows in this part. Well, we don't really care. Well, that encourages bad behavior too, because you plant non-native species.
I think the bigger problem is they're gonna take and steal people's properties and houses. If you have a house.
Right now, they're not.
If you have a house burned down and you're inside of that, they will
won't
not
let
let
you
you
back.
rebuild.
Yeah.
Well, It's up to
And I've
us,
seen this.
it's up to us to decide to enforce it.
Yeah,
So part of my pickle is, so the big hammer, if you will, that's my word, the big incentive, that was their word, is that you could lose your ability for your community to buy flood insurance if you don't participate. We're a participating community, which means neighbors get a discount if you want to buy flood insurance. The only parcel that is fully in the floodplain is the one the city owns on the lakefront, that's basically our little wetlands, where we might build a trail. None of these other houses, we don't have a single structure in the floodplain. So if they took flood insurance away, a total of no houses are affected.
but if they increase that,
It doesn't put them in flood zone, it puts them in a riparian habitat, the revised riparian habitat, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
So I told him that, I said, if you can't build on that piece of real estate, that's a taking. And he goes, no, it's not a taking, it's just additional requirements. I go, yeah, but what if you can't meet them, then it's a taking. Because one of the ways to meet it, they're all about impervious area. So most of this makes sense, like in the Willamette Valley or near Portland, where it's heavily developed, right? And you've got waterfront with storage buildings or warehouses or whatever. And he said, well, if you wanted to build a bigger roof, you could take some parking lot out. I said, I don't have any parking lot. I got gravel driveways in 2/3 of the houses. I don't have any pervious to remove. And he goes, well, sounds like you're doing a good job. You should get your own requirements. And I said, how long does that take? Well, it depends. I'm like, oh, one of those.
Have to do a study.
that's.
Yeah, you gotta do a detailed study, it can take 5 years, but
That's a 10-year ordeal.
maybe that's okay. We just say, here's our plan, and we don't do anything for 10 years. And then they'll come back with comments, and we'll say, I don't know, we'll take another whack at it, and we get another 5 years out of it. So, anyway, the poor female employees just think this is the best thing since sliced bread. They're operating in a vacuum, none of them have been here, and it's just one size fits all.
Yeah.
There's 16 affected fish and a resident pod of killer whales. I know we don't affect the killer whales in this neighborhood, and I don't even know where the fish are listed. They just said, these are all the fisheries, there's, all 16 are in some of these areas, so salmon are on the list. But we're not in a declining salmon habitat map, it's kind of like you're in, but you're not really in. So we don't have any pavement to remove, So anyway, if you put your house, if your rooftop's outside 170 feet, you'd be fine. The problem is you'd have to have a 250-foot deep lakefront lot to be able to do that, and a lot of them aren't that big.
No.
They could meet our minimum, they could be totally buildable today and not be buildable tomorrow. So, so I put that in there, that I think this is a one-size-fits-all and it doesn't make sense here. And they're gonna hear that from everybody, but everybody's got different conditions, so. And somebody on there had a really good question. He said, so the Klamath River watershed goes all the way halfway across Idaho. How come this is only Oregon? It's not in Washington and it's not in Idaho, yet that red would keep going. If you look at the map, it's plotted. If you look at the NOAA map, it keeps going. It doesn't respect county borders or state lines. But he said, oh yeah, we only have an Oregon plan. So if you're on the other side of the border, you can do whatever you want.
It's about control.
It's about control.
Yeah, and I think, and part of it is, I think where they could get support, because the governor didn't really push back when all the cities and counties said, this is killing us. She did ultimately write a letter last year. But yeah, I think it's just different opinions in Idaho and Washington, so they started with Oregon. And so anyway, I'm not in love with it. But so I got about a 2-page letter, and I'll share that. And after the presentation, I decided to change some of my words, because some of the stuff he answered the question, and some of it, I got more pissed off after he answered the question. So I don't want to say anything too terrible in print, but I was not very pleased with the findings. But anyway, it's all out there now. It's not a big window. They just republished in August and said the whole thing is due by October 6th. So we only got like 3 more weeks. And I went to the first class, and that was just a week ago, so we didn't have
So they're trying to cram it down
Oh,
everybody's
yeah.
throats.
yeah. And they point to, well, we started this 7 years ago, where were you then? And I was like, I was in a substantially different place 7 years ago. So yeah, a lot of people are like, I don't even know if this is gonna affect me. And it may still die. FEMA's experienced cutbacks, current administration is not in love with this stuff, but I was shocked that it came up. And they
I
said,
think
here it
it came
is.
up because it's been worked on for so long, and this is the tail end of it. But I'm just what you're saying, and FEMA's a different operation than it was a few months back. I'm not sure if this is gonna carry water all the way.
I don't know if it is, so I think we need to comment, or they'll say, we didn't get any comments,
Give 'em a
everybody's fine
comment.
with it.
Give 'em a comment, all right. I'll give 'em a comment.
All right.
I like their
And you can
170.
comment, you can comment as a councilman, you can comment as a planning commissioner, or you can comment as a citizen too.
They're all the same comment.
Well, but you put it in all caps,
Yeah,
if you
okay.
do it as a
They
citizen.
draw pictures.
Rapunzel.
Just a quick question, so last year when their original new plan came out, they mentioned something, I think, about a new flood map?
I asked that question
Is there
because,
a new flood?
because that was my concern, Rich, if you say, well, oh, and by the way, we put every lakefront house in the flood zone without a study. Because I said, hey, you keep talking about if you're in floodplain, I'm not in floodplain. And you mentioned that there might be new maps. And he said, oh, that's an ongoing FEMA thing. We're supposed to visit every 3 to 5 years. And I'm like, yeah, you haven't been to Dune City since 1970. I came from a very populated community with hundreds of floodplain changes. And they said, if there's more than 3 changes on a map, we'll come out and remap it. And I'm like, okay, I'm up to 26 and you haven't been here yet. And so we literally had, hand-drawn lines all over all the subdivisions that had channelized flows and put in storm drains, and because we didn't allow new construction in floodplain, period. And so, yeah, he said, well, no, we're not really doing anything. That's just our standard lingo that, someday we'll update the map. So at that point, they'll have to show that the lake level has changed drastically, and, I mean, our historic record shows it hasn't. We don't have a whole bunch of houses that are getting flooded today that didn't a few years ago. And so I actually think the map's fairly accurate. It's got the surface elevation of the lake,
Can you
mean
get
high
that
water mark.
from the FEMA website? Because
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever actually seen the actual map.
Yeah, we did, Lila and I went through that exercise, and they said, click the link, you can see the current digital firm,
Okay.
you can, so yeah, it's all there, and it looks exactly like the way we thought it did. All the shoreline is shaded, and there's little fingers where there's some creeks, and then our big parcel here on the lake. That's basically it. None of the homes. And I asked Pam too, I said, have you seen anything with a permit in the floodplain? She said, nope, we check every time. The real check is the 50 feet from mean high water, the riparian. We check that on every new permit. And so, so he said, oh, send your comment that you think 50 feet's fine. Well,
But they're gonna change, they've
30
changed
feet's
it
fine, but
to what, 170?
the riparian buffer, yeah,
Yeah.
not the flood zone. but
Yeah, the riparian buffer,
Yeah.
but the riparian buffer is gonna put a lot of houses out of commission. If
No,
they
the
were,
existing house is fine.
if they were to burn down and you
Yeah.
wanted to rebuild, they're not gonna let you rebuild because.
Well,
it's
worse
within
than that.
riparian.
Reconstruct.
Worse than that, we're supposed to look at, it used to be substantial reconstruction, like it burned down or, and now it's any addition. And so, yeah, that was part of my conundrum is like, what if we just don't do anything? We just keep doing business as usual because no one inspects any of this stuff. Nobody comes around to look at it. So, and if your house is not in floodplain, it technically doesn't apply. It's a really weird way to attach it because if you don't have flood insurance, you're not in floodplain. It's like, get out of my back pocket. So I put that in my letter that,
I vote for option D.
there's a lot of homeowners, it's basically anything on the ground that creates impervious. So the question came up, like, you get a new heat pump, and it's got a condenser on outside, and it's all of 8 square feet. What are you supposed to do? To give you an example, you go create impervious real estate at like 3 to 1. So you disturb 8 square feet, you gotta find 24 square feet. And then they had a lot of examples. If you were in the floodplain and you caused a rise in the floodplain, you had to dig out, make storage. We don't have a problem with that. We don't allow that. So that but the examples are awful. They're like dig a hole on the side of a river where more water can flow. And I'm like, well, there's a water quality nightmare. And disturb a stream bank where the fish are supposed to spawn and make it a silty, muddy mess. So I put that in there that I can't believe you suggest that.
They're doing that out here on 126. Did you see the river all last fall?
Oh, it's,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, that's a mud bog out there.
Mud bog.
It's all
And
it's gonna be.
they created it.
Yeah, that's all it's gonna be, silt.
Yeah, so,
It's killing more salmon than they're saving.
I watched it happen, I see it done.
yeah. So anyway, I'll send everybody the, I'll drop off a paper copy or something for you. But staff, I'll send it to Lila, so if you wanna edit that and, add some or strike something, just tell Lila, we can print a letter for you.
Really easy.
And it's easier to email, we'll just, you can say, add this, and then email it, just, every council's got an email address, we can just submit them all, through our council email, so.
You know what's wrong when two agencies are joining together?
Well, they said, well, it was a lawsuit with NOAA, and so they decided this is the way to fix it, and I'm like, you fix it on your own, we didn't have anything to do with the NOAA lawsuit, it happened someplace else. And, so it's a really lousy way to fix it, but,
Lila, would you send it to the planning commission too?
Yes.
As well?
Yes.
yeah.
Do you want,
Yeah, so-
you're gonna send me an updated one?
Sure, yep, and, yeah, I'll just send you all my words, I've decided I need to tone a couple of them down and maybe turn a couple of them up, but, it actually gave me an headache going through this thing, I was like, tweak, it's like, I spent 3 hours reading, and they're like, oh, we published it all, I'm like, it's the best kept secret, man, I searched to find all the documents, and they send you the info, there's no info, you have to go to a different website, and then search that website for the Oregon plan, and there's 30 things on FEMA's website for Oregon, but it turns out this one was at the top, because they just republished it, so it's easy to find it. Yeah, I was a little tweaked.
Sounds like Washington.
I was cranky that day.
And I just wanna say, there's still a lawsuit, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So there has been there were 2 suits. So one of them, a judge reviewed one, so they held the other one. And then they have stayed the action based on this public comment. So if something changes, if it doesn't change, then they're gonna pursue their suit. And so, it's good news, bad news, I was invited to that meeting, and, you guys would probably like those people, because they were like, we hate this, and, but they also want money, they want support, and we frankly don't have a whole lot of money to give to somebody for legal efforts, so a couple of the bigger cities and counties on the coast joined, and the board of realtors, and there's a whole lot of other, like industry groups that are funding it, so yeah, they're pursuing it, saying, it's an overreach, the Environmental Species Act has nothing to do with the flood insurance program.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the desert, we had flood insurance, we didn't have any endangered species that came down the wash, so it's 2 very distinct things, and they put them together in Oregon, so anyway, I'll share all that stuff, and we'll put it on the city's website too, if you're interested, take a look, and this stuff is all public, we can share this. It is a bit difficult to get to, because this is all they give us, and you gotta click all the links to find the documents, it really is difficult, so, for what it's worth. So, that's all I got on that. Item 9 is citizens input or citizens comments. Anybody have comments in the audience?
Well, I just would say, what you've been talking about, the various different agencies like FEMA and NOAA and EPA, all of those are not really supported by our current administration. So I think we're going to see a lot of changes and a lot of financial crunches. And there aren't enough employees to really cover the jobs
I
of
know.
those agencies.
And they never have. They never
Yeah.
have. I mean, a lot of it is a paper tiger, and
Sad.
it trickles down to local community, and they
Right.
expect, because we're a participating community in the flood insurance program, that we will enforce it all. I'm like, some of this, I mean, I don't have a house in the floodplain. Maybe I don't care.
Right.
I mean, I came from a place where flash floods were a problem. We didn't get that much rain, but we had flash floods. And we didn't want, the guy opened with, the flood insurance program and FEMA is here to protect humans from
Right.
injury and death
They
and
do good
property
work.
damage.
I agree with you. They do good work.
Now we're worried about the resident pod of killer whales, which has nothing to do with their mission or vision. I'm like, that's my first comment. I'm like, then get out. Like, why are you there? Because it's 2 very different things. And I'm not for killing endangered species, but I'm not for harming all our residents for something that's a problem in a different zip code. So, anyway, I'm pretty sorry. It was your comment.
Yeah, well,
See, I told you, this gets me wound up.
it is, no, it gets us all wound up.
All right.
But, yeah, I very much like you, we all care about this area and this environment. And it's just really interesting what's going on. And I don't know, FEMA wanted some information, wanted to be doing big things. I think they're just trying so hard to survive at this point. I'm not sure anything radical is going to be done, but we're all kind of on our own
Yeah.
because of that.
Well, and you have some historical input to share, right?
Right.
You've lived on the edge of a lake
Yeah.
for 3 generations, your family has.
Yeah.
And so that's the sort of comments they need, that
Mhm.
you potentially, your house is far enough back, you'd be okay, but what if all your neighbors couldn't do any maintenance, major
Actually,
maintenance?
Geneva and I are right on the Silkus River here.
Oh, okay, then yeah,
So-
so the river's behind you, so yeah, you still have the same problem.
And whether or not the dam is plugged up or the dam is working or
It
who
can
runs the
still
dam.
get pretty darn high.
Well,
I saw terrible
So the
flooding
high
back
water
in
is
the
the first part,
80s,
but then
you
add
know.
170 feet to
Have
that.
flooding.
Yes, exactly.
Your house would
That
have to be
over
moved across the
my house,
street.
yes.
Yeah. And one of our, and I can't remember who, I think it was a state senator, he asked questions in the first version. He's like, when you talk about maintenance, what do you consider? You know, can you re-roof your house? And they put examples, like you could re-roof the house because it already has a roof. Then he goes, what about a porch? Oh, no, you can't add a deck. You can't add, I mean, a lot of people, the parking area is gravel. So that in theory would be okay because it's pervious area, but he's like, is this really doable? You can't have a building addition, you
If
can't.
you're a rich person in Florida or Texas, you can rebuild time and again, and we all
I
pay
know.
the rising insurance
Yeah.
costs.
Exactly.
But working class folks, we're on our own.
Right, where we haven't had any claims and we don't have repetitive losses.
Right.
And, yeah, so anyway, I appreciate your comment. We'll share that. We need to somehow
It's very complicated.
get the neighbors, you know, to get a few more letters from residents too. Go ahead, Buzzell.
I don't know if I should even say this. Isn't the pond of orcas that they're talking about out of Puget Sound?
I think so.
I believe.
That's what I was thinking. The resident killer whales are, and they put that in the report. It's a killer whales. I'm like, not killer whales, they're orcas, you ding
Recently
dong.
saw a documentary on them, and if it's the, what I'm thinking of is the pond that lives mostly in Puget Sound.
Yeah,
Right.
and Washington is exempt, but Oregon is not. So, because they do move around a little bit.
Yeah,
But the ones we see down here are migratory, they're the ones following the whales, you know,
Exactly.
when they're calving, and they're. So anyway, yeah, I was like, what has this got to do with Dune City, or Reedsport, or Coos Bay, or Tillamook County? Yeah, and, because everybody on the coast is in the zone.
Yeah.
And then you go up every stream and creek, and if one single salmon could ever make it there, you're in red. And so, not that one necessarily has ever been there, that's what I said, I said, can you show me where they are? I mean, how many of them, how much is habitat's been damaged? Well, we don't know, because the habitat was damaged. I'm like, not around here.
Land grab.
We're still waiting for them, you know, I mean, we're full of fishermen and, you know, undisturbed lakeshore, so. He goes, well, write up your own, you know, and tell us you're different. I'm like, yeah, good luck with the whole, you know, with all the scientists on staff, we're gonna whip this thing right up. So anyway, any other comments from the audience before I need an answer?
Just would tell you that when I was a girl, I was in with my family on the jetty in Florence and watching whales playing in the river. So they can get up a ways.
Oh, yeah.
They're not gonna get up this river.
They come around once in a while
Yeah, I've seen them.
up the Sayula, yeah, still, and I've seen the pictures.
Every May,
Yeah, somebody will make a left turn right.
every year.
And but those aren't the resident pod, those are migratory, they're
right,
not
of course
included.
they are.
And so, I'm like, how did you pick this one pod that lives somewhere, but it doesn't live around here? You know, there's 370 miles of coastline.
And that's certainly true in the Puget Sound area.
Oh, yeah.
Our brother lives up there and my niece and had a home.
Yeah, they all
San
identify
Juan
by their
Islands.
spots and all that.
The San Juan Islands, people come to see the orcas.
Yeah.
And they're dying off. We really are losing a lot of
Are
whales.
they?
You know, is that our fish population? Is that our environment?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's, I mean, around here,
Sad.
it was the commercial fishing that, you know, really hammered the salmon more than, for us, changes to the shoreline. Anyway.
Yeah.
So, all right, well, we'll get that out there and, you know, hopefully get some letters. Item 10 is executive session, we don't need an executive session. And item 11, for good order.
I do have something. I've been inspired on my way home from work. I've been driving by the same place for a couple of years, watching these folks work on their place, and they've really, from what they bought it at to what it is today, they've really made it look very nice driving by. And I was thinking, city council or city staff, our code enforcement officers out running around, it might be nice to send a letter of commendation out to a property that gets recommended for taking such nice care of their place,
Yeah.
instead of getting a Dune City envelope that you haven't checked your septic tank yet, or, you know, you got too many cars parked in the front, or whatever the case may be, getting something nice.
Yeah.
That's a good idea. That was,
I think we could do something, it doesn't require council action if everybody thinks it's a good idea, and we could maybe send them to Lila and say, you know, here's my idea, here's why, and then you put it on letterhead, we'll come up with sort of standard format of a, you know, commendation or a thank you or something.
not a scheduled thing, not a monthly,
Yeah, no, and then when-
if you see something.
But yeah, when you see it, and then you could put you were nominated by,
Yeah.
and then you could sign it, or we could print them and say whoever comes up with it, you know, and have Duke sign it, and they'll get a letter and say your councilman's recognized, you know. So yeah, we'll see if we can come up with some sort of standard language.
I've got quite a few letters from Dune City, none of them been good. That's kind of like getting a nice one.
I got a couple of
In my
those.
office, there are there's little things that visual signs in there, it's in a box.
Okay.
I have something else, go ahead.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
All right, I had a thing. We had a call about a street light, and without getting into that, because that's really for the staff to talk to the resident, but our street lights are a bit haphazard. And when we were going through the nuisance code, you know, we talked about lighting standards and that sort of thing, and it doesn't apply to street lights. Our company owns the 12 street lights. There's no real rhyme or reason where they are. You know, they're generally at an intersection, but not all intersections. A few of them are privately paid for by an HOA or somebody that was conditioned to do it when they, you know, some of the more modern ones, if they got a private street, they're paying the bill. Do you even want to talk about it, or should we develop a standard for where we're going to put them? Because we haven't had any new ones, we haven't added any, we've deleted a couple that were, you know, either they didn't line up with some, or they were in the county and we were getting the bill, we're like, well, we don't want it, you know, but mostly they've just been giving us credit, saying, we don't even want to spend the time to take it down either, we'll just stop charging you for it. So our street lighting bill's gone down, and I don't want to drive it up, because to light every single intersection is a lot of light, and we're more of a dark sky community, so.
You can take the one from in front of my place.
I was gonna say, I think you'd get a lot of complaints if you start putting them up, because they're on and shining down and people.
And I think if we started taking them down, we'd get some complaints
Well, yeah,
too, but
yeah.
if we went through, if you want, we could have, you know, we could invite public comment day and say, here, and maybe nobody comes anyway, but yeah, I drove around, I mean, I've located
Yeah.
streetlights based on lighting standards, and I'm like, a lot of these are in the wrong spot, or they're aimed the wrong direction. You know, a streetlight's direction will light up along the road, and we got them marked, you know, 45 degrees on the corner, so they're kind of halfway up one guy's driveway, and, you know, we got one in a cul-de-sac that lights up the lady's front window. And so, if the whole neighborhood wants to take it down, we'll take it down, otherwise, we're just gonna see if we can shield it or twist it a little bit so it doesn't annoy her, but if, you know, we have them at the end of some of the cul-de-sacs, some of the long ones where it looks like you're on a road and it just ends, there's a light at the end of the road. So, we didn't want to take it down for one complaint, but we can put that on there for a more formal discussion, so that we can, sort of when the public calls, we could have some rules, you know, council's not interested unless it meets this, or this. And, because, yeah, we're mostly about the dark, and the complaint we got was a brand new resident, so I was like, oh, send them back to the city. We're not gonna add a light.
And we spend about $2,500, I'd say $2,500 to $3,000 a month on lights, so, I mean, that's already, I mean,
Yeah,
that's good, that's good.
and
That's-
that one location would be about $300 a year
Yes.
more to add one.
Yes,
So it's like, well, if you're asking me, no. But,
Right.
so Lila did a little research and said, you know, the original map, it's so old, it was Lane County, it predates the city, it's like, nobody's complained all these years, I don't want to change anything.
I don't have one, I don't want one.
Okay, I'm good too.
Yeah.
All right, Rich, you got anything for good order?
The only thing, like I was saying earlier, is that we've had a lot of really great comments about how clean the lake is this year and how well things are looking.
Yeah.
We intend on just continuing to do what we're doing, and hopefully, state officials kind of leave us alone a little bit.
Okay.
We'll just keep doing what we're doing.
All right, Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Unofficial dam monitoring professional?
Oh, I got some, I
No,
was,
no, your time's
I
up.
was 500 miles away in a resort place, and they had a big screen on the wall showing all these places of the world.
Yeah.
And they showed the Silcoos River,
Really?
and people going down it, and it lasted for 3 or 4 minutes, where we went down through
Yeah.
there. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah.
It's beautiful.
I went out of town and I had a pet sitter and they said, tell me about where you go kayaking. And I said, we got the Silcoos River Trail, Google it. And she's like, no kidding, you got a trail this river. I said, yeah, you can go right down to the dam. You can go over the dam if you want.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
That was pretty neat.
I got 2 plastic kayaks. I said, hey, they're all here for you, you know, if you want to go.
Yeah.
And, yeah, so, yeah, it is a neat spot. And I do have all that plastic cut and drilled and I gotta get over there. I mean, some of them I can do anytime, some of them's gotta be low tide or you gotta wait out.
I haven't even gotten down to get that stuff either, so.
I think I only need 3 pieces. I cut up everything we bought and, I've gone over there and counted twice. And anyway, I cut those big squares. That was a hard one. I had to trace, because the holes were all different. So I basically traced them, took it home and transferred it and drilled them. And I didn't want to cut or drill anything out there because those plastic chips go everywhere.
Yeah.
But anyway, I measured a bunch of holes, and of course, most of the holes are the same distance apart, but not all exactly, so there may have to be a little finagling, but I got all the hardware, so I got 85, 90% of it. I need like 3 more, enough to make 3 more strips, I think.
Yeah.
But if we get a low tide, if we get the ones underwater, then it'll be easy, we can leave a couple of blind ones that are easy to reach. So we can go back, so anyway,
I have one more thing.
yes, go ahead.
So from the Oregon Emergency Management Group, they gave me signs today that say on one side help and one side okay. So we're gonna have them here available for any citizen that would like to pick them up. And I was gonna have Igor basically take a list, if anybody wanted us to bring one to them, they can. So it's basically if you're in an emergency and you need help, you can put up this in your window, hopefully. And then this would alert your neighbor that you're in need of help and hopefully would call for some emergency services.
So
So-
do they get a little piece of instructions that goes with it? when you
Yes.
give them one? Okay, gotcha.
That's an old school deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was around years and years and years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah, so, yeah, so we're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
have
to
them
make up
here.
for our cell phone service in a lot of.
Yeah, because, yes. So anyway, you can either come and pick them up here in City Hall, as we're here for you, or if you call and you want Igor to drop them off for you, we're gonna do that too. And we're putting it in the newsletter, so.
All right, very good. And I got a Spectrum survey. And I said, your customer service is great, but your cell phone service is terrible.
It is.
Well, and I checked the box, would it be okay if we follow it up? So this year I said, sure. If you want to call, I'll tell you why. I mean, you have no infrastructure at all in Dune City.
They called me the other day, talking about business licenses because Igor approached one of their trucks. And so they called me and they said, because, we'd asked to meet with them.
Yeah.
They said, oh yeah, we haven't got back to you on that. We will. We'll get back to you shortly about some dates.
All right,
So we'll see if that happens.
yeah, keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah.
All right, anything else?
No,
All right, seeing nothing, we'll adjourn at 6:58.
you need a motion?
What's that? Oh, shoot, I need a motion. Who would like a motion to adjourn?
I motion.
Second.
Wait, we can't vote. We have to just adjourn.
Oh, that's right. I guess.
Adjourn, 7 o'clock. We can't make a decision.